Check your altitude.
Jay Zeamer Jr., July 25, 1918, March 22, 2007, was a pilot of the United States Army Air Forces in the South Pacific during World War II, who received the Medal of Honor for Valor during a B-17 Flying Fortress mission on June 16, 1943. After the war, he became an aeronautical engineer and worked in the aerospace industry. Born in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, Zeamer grew up in Orange, New Jersey, the son of a women's club leader and sales representative for a global leather exporter. He spent many summers at Boothbay Harbor, Maine, where he enjoyed rowing a homemade boat in the harbor. Zeamer became an Eagle Scout at the age of 14. He is one of only 11 known Eagle Scouts who also received the Medal of Honor. The others are Aquila J. Dias, Robert Edward, Fay Moyer, Eugene B. Fluckey, Walter Joseph Marm Jr., Thomas R. Norris, Arlo L. Olson, Mitchell Page, Benjamin L. Salomon, and Leo K. Thorsness. After a freshman year of high school in Orange, he was enrolled by his father in Culver Military Academy in Culver, Indiana, where he completed the Senior Infantry Reserve Officers Training Corps course. Winning honors in marksmanship each year he was there, he served in the Culver Rifles Color Guard his last 2 years. After completing ROTC Advanced Camp, he was given a certificate in lieu of a commission in the Infantry Officer Reserves Corps, for which he could apply upon his 21st birthday. He attended a year of junior college at Culver after graduation, taking on a more rigorous curriculum and attending summer school, allowing him to enter the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, as a second-year student. In August 1939, after turning 21 in July, he received his infantry commission, becoming a second lieutenant in the Army Reserve, assigned to the 312th Infantry, 78th Division. Interested in aviation since childhood, in 1938, Zeamer had joined the MIT Flying Club based in nearby Norwood. Within a year, he was licensed himself with 100 solo hours in his logbook. He also served as manager of the club. In October 1939, Zeamer applied for the Army Air Corps Flight Training Program and was accepted in December. His entrance to the program was deferred until after his graduation from MIT in June 1940 with a B.S. in civil engineering, specializing in structural engineering. Zeamer began elementary flight school training as a flying cadet in the Chicago School of Aeronautics, Glenview, Illinois, where his leadership skills earned him the position of Captain of Cadets of Class 41B. In March 1941, he received his wings and a commission in the U.S. Army Air Corps after graduating from basic and advanced flight school at Maxwell Field, Alabama. Initially assigned to the 96th Bombardment Squadron of the 2nd Bombardment Group as Assistant Engineering Officer, Zeamer was transferred to the 63rd Bombardment Squadron, 43rd Bombardment Group, where he served as Squadron Executive Officer. It was there that he first met his future bombardier, Joseph Sarnowski. Sometime during the summer, Zeamer and all the rest of the second lieutenants were sent to Patterson Field in Dayton, Ohio, for assisting with the service testing of the new Martin B-26 Marauder by the 22nd Bombardment Group. Following his return to Langley Field, Zeamer was assigned to the group's 19th Bombardment Squadron as a co-pilot. On December 8, 1941, the 22nd was transferred from Langley to California to fly anti-submarine patrols and reconnaissance off the west coast of the United States. In March 1942, the 22nd BG was deployed to Australia, where Zeamer flew his first combat mission as a B-26 co-pilot on April 6, 1942. He was promoted to first lieutenant that same month. Still, due to issues of reaction time and aggressiveness on the controls, Zeamer had never checked out as first pilot in the B-26. With the arrival of his old group, the 43rd, in Australia flying the new F-model Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress in August 1942, Zeamer sought and obtained a transfer from the 22nd to the 43rd. He reported for duty with the 403rd Bombardment Squadron in Torrens Creek, Australia, on September 22nd, reuniting with his gunnery trainer and friend from the previous summer, Joe Sarnowski. Lacking any experience in the B-17, Zeamer had to scrounge for flights at first as a self-described squadron errand boy before gaining combat experience in October as a substitute co-pilot and even navigator, despite having not yet been checked out as first pilot in the B-17. Zeamer flew his first mission as pilot in command on November 20th, a photo reconnaissance of Simpson Harbor at Rabaul, New Britain. He was awarded the Silver Star for the mission, which also served as his transition to first pilot. Around the end of 1942, Zeamer began putting together his own crew, beginning with Sarnowski and squadron navigator Charles Rocky Stone. Popular accounts of the crew and its formation refer to them as screw-offs, renegades, and misfits, but are not borne out by the actual record and are either fiction or gross exaggeration. Citation needed in time, they began calling themselves the Eager Beavers for Zeamer's constant volunteering for missions as they became available. An early incarnation of the crew was awarded air medals for the sinking of a merchant vessel at Rabaul on January 17, 1943. The bombing of Milne Bay that same day, as well as significant personnel losses to malaria and dengue fever, led to the 403rd being returned to Australia soon after for recuperation. Almost 2 months of non-combat followed, prompting another transfer for Zeamer, this time into the 65th Bomb Squadron of the 43rd BG, based in Port Moresby, New Guinea, in late March 1943. He was promoted to captain in early April, as well as made squadron operations officer. On April 12th, the Eager Beavers flew a mission to Rabaul for which he was awarded an oak leaf cluster to his Silver Star. In May 1943, Zeamer was made squadron executive officer and took on the upgrading of a B-17E 41-2666, recently acquired from the 8th Photographic Reconnaissance Squadron for photographic mapping purposes. The plane was one of the few in the theater equipped with the trimetrogun camera system, which allowed the creation of photographic mosaics for generating accurate ground maps. The aircrew replaced the aircraft's aging engines with new, stripped the bomber of much of its extra weight, and added additional heavy machine guns, including dual 50 caliber M2 Brownings in both the radio compartment and waist gun positions, 3 in the nose, including a fixed 50 caliber in the plexiglass coaming that Zeamer could directly fire from his pilot's control yoke. Contemporary accounts, including the 65th Bomb Squadron's morning report for that day, as well as Zeamer's own flight log, record the aircraft being equipped with 16 active Torn 50 caliber machine guns, with 3 additional spares stored in the B-17's catwalk for quick combat-related substitution, if and when needed. Now transformed into a gunship, the B-17 was known to its aircrew as 6666, or popularly as Old 6666.
The 65th Special Operations Squadron is an Air Force Special Operations Command unit which flies the General Atomics MQ-9 Reaper at Hurlburt Field, Florida. The squadron was first activated as the 65th Bombardment Squadron in January 1941, one of the original squadrons of the 43rd Bombardment Group. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor, the squadron participated in anti-submarine patrols until January 1942, when it moved to Australia and the Southwest Pacific Theater. It moved forward with U.S. forces through New Guinea and the Philippines, moving to Ieshima shortly before VJ Day for operations against Japan. It earned 2 Distinguished Unit Citations and a Philippine Presidential Unit Citation for combat operations. During this period, a crew from the 65th became the most decorated aircrew in United States history when their B-17 fought off 20 Japanese fighters during a photo-reconnaissance mission. The squadron was inactivated in the Philippines in April 1946. The squadron was activated again in October 1946 at Davis-Monthan Field, Arizona, when it assumed the resources of another unit. It operated propeller-driven Boeing B-29 Superfortresses and Boeing B-50 Superfortresses until 1954, when it upgraded to the jet Boeing B-47 Stratojet. In 1960, the squadron moved to Carswell Air Force Base, Texas, where it became one of the Air Force's first supersonic Convair B-58 Hustler units. In 1962, a crew from the 65th won the Mackay Trophy and the Bendix Trophy for setting a trio of transcontinental speed records in a round trip from Los Angeles to New York and back during Operation Heat Rise. It was inactivated in 1970 with the retirement of the B-58. From 1986 to 1991, as the 65th Strategic Squadron, it controlled bombers and tankers deployed at Andersen Air Force Base, Guam. It was activated in its current role in December 2018. The 65th Special Operations Squadron provides combatant commanders intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, ISR, and precision strike capabilities through remotely piloted aircraft operations around the globe. The squadron was first activated at Langley Field, Virginia, as one of the original 4 squadrons of the 43D Bombardment Group in the buildup of the United States military forces prior to the American entry into World War II. It was equipped with the Boeing B-17 flying fortress that it would fly in combat, but also flew North American B-25 Mitchells for training. The squadron moved to Army Air Base Bangor, Maine at the end of August. Following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, the squadron conducted anti-submarine patrols off the Atlantic coast until January 1942 and began moving to reinforce American forces in the Southwest Pacific Theater the following month. The squadron reached Australia via Cape Town in March 1942. It was originally equipped with B-17s for combat operations. The squadron operated from bases in Australia until January 1943, when it moved to New Guinea. Between May and September 1942, the squadron replaced its B-17s with consolidated B-24 Liberators, believed to be more suited to the long ranges of many Pacific missions. It attacked Japanese shipping in the Netherlands East Indies and the Bismarck Archipelago. It experimented with skip bombing and used this technique during the Battle of the Bismarck Sea in March 1943. During this battle, it made repeated attacks against an enemy convoy bringing reinforcements to Japanese forces in New Guinea. For this action, the squadron was awarded a Distinguished Unit Citation. During this period, the squadron also provided air support for ground forces in New Guinea. It attacked airfields and enemy installations in New Guinea, the Bismarck Archipelago, Celebes, Halmahera, Yap, Palau, and the southern Philippines. In November 1944, the squadron moved to the Philippines, helping the ground campaign on Luzon, as well as conducting bombing missions against airfields, industrial installations, and enemy installations in China and Formosa. In July 1945, it moved to Ieshima Airfield, from which it flew missions over Japan, attacking railroads and airfields, as well as shipping in the Seto Inland Sea until VJ Day. After ceasing operations, the squadron sent its aircraft to the Philippines for reclamation and relocated to Fort William McKinley near Manila, largely as a paper unit. Although not fully equipped or manned after November 1945, it was finally inactivated in April 1946. On 16th of June 1943, Captain Jay Zeamer Jr. and his crew flew a photographic mapping mission to map the west coast of Bougainville Island, adding a reconnaissance of the enemy airfield on nearby Buka Island prior to beginning the mapping run. When the mapping was nearly complete, their B-17 was attacked by at least 9 enemy fighters. The bombardier, 2nd Lieutenant Joseph Sarnowski, helped fight off the first fighter attacks, permitting Captain Zeamer to complete the mapping. During a coordinated attack of 3 Japanese Zeros on the nose of the B-17, Sarnowski drove off one before a 20mm shell knocked him back from his gun. Despite being mortally wounded, he crawled back to his gun in time to drive off another fighter pressing an attack on the nose. At that point, Sarnowski collapsed over his gun. After a precipitous dive from 20,000 feet to around 10,000 feet for oxygen, Captain Zeamer, though grievously wounded in his arms and legs, violently maneuvered the bomber, successfully evading further damage despite repeated attacks by the Japanese fighters. After a total of 40 minutes of running combat, the remaining Japanese fighters broke off their attacks and returned to Buka. Zeamer, while lapsing in and out of consciousness, directed the plane to Dobadura, an Allied base inland of New Guinea's east coast. Both men were awarded the Medal of Honor for their actions. As a result of this mission, the Zeamer crew has been called the most highly decorated air crew in United States Air Force history. The rest of the crew members on the 16 June 1943 mission were awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. The squadron was reactivated under Strategic Air Command, SAC, at Davis-Monthan Field, Arizona on 1 October 1946, and along with the other squadrons of the 43rd Group, absorbed the personnel and Boeing B-29 Superfortresses of the 40th and 444th Bombardment Groups, which were simultaneously inactivated. It was one of the first operational Boeing B-29 Superfortress squadrons of SAC and trained for strategic bombardment missions during the post-war years. Began upgrading to the improved Boeing B-50 Superfortress, an advanced version of the B-29 in 1948. SAC's mobilization for the Korean War highlighted that SAC wing commanders focused too much on running the base organization and not overseeing actual combat preparations. To allow wing commanders the ability to focus on combat operations, the Air Base Group Commander became responsible for managing the base housekeeping functions. Under the plan implemented in February 1951, and finalized in June 1952, the wing commander focused primarily on the combat units and the maintenance necessary to support combat aircraft by having the combat and maintenance squadrons report directly to the wing and eliminating the intermediate group structures. The squadron was attached to the 43rd Bombardment Wing in February 1951, then assigned permanently in June 1952. The emergence of the Soviet MiG-15 interceptor in the skies of North Korea signaled the end of the propeller-driven B-50 as a first-line strategic bomber. It replaced them with new Boeing B-47E Stratojet swept-wing medium bombers in 1954, capable of flying at high subsonic speeds. In the late 1950s, the B-47 was considered to be reaching obsolescence and was being phased out of SAC's strategic arsenal. The squadron began sending aircraft to other B-47 wings as replacements in late 1959. The squadron moved on paper to Carswell Air Force Base, Texas in early 1960 in preparation for receiving the new Convair B-58 Hustler supersonic medium bomber, sending the last of its B-47s to the Aerospace Maintenance and Regeneration Center, AMARC, in early 1960.